Jay here, Stretford Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, we're live. I'm in my kitchen with all the latest Manchester United news, including the latest news on Ruben Amorim, because that's the main talking point at the minute, the manager's future. Get involved in the chat and the comments. Apologies, we're a little bit late as well. I've been running around all over the gaff this morning. School runs and all that, you know what I mean? I'm modern dad, what can I say? Also, the weather here in sunny Salford is not so sunny. It's been raining pretty much for at least 24 hours. Bit of a horrible day. Good to see people in the chat already. BMW Racing, 1974, Min Hoyland, Jacoya Trott, Ewan, Robert Harwood. Let's get into it then. Let's just get into this sort of this Ruben Amorim story that's on the thumbnail. That's the main topic of conversation when I look at a lot of what's going on social media. Basically, it's been revealed. I think it's the Daily Mail. Our mate Nathan Soul, and I think Chris Wheeler was involved in it as well. Did a story for Mail Plus saying, revealed Ruben Amorim's eye-watering compensation if sacked, and the four favourites to replace him as club insiders reveal two alarming fears about Portuguese boss. So we've spoken about this over the last few days, how like the rumours that you hear almost every year, I'm a poet, I didn't even realise, at United are back again. We always have players are questioning his tactics. The board are still backing him, but have concerns. Certain managers are being linked with the Old Trafford job. And we're in that stage right now for Ruben Amorim, where he's not had the vote of confidence, but he's had reports that Ineos still believe in him, but are a little bit concerned, shall we say, about the results, but they still think he's the right man for the job. We've had rumours of certain managers being linked with the job, and we've had reports that players, I think we had it was in the Mirror, that certain players are questioning the manager's tactics. So it does feel as though it's sort of deja vu all over again when it comes to Manchester United, when it comes to managers. We end up here every other year and we're here again. So just the sort of the devil's in the detail of this article in Mail Plus. So it says Manchester United would have to pay Ruben Amorim 12 million quid if they sack the Portuguese coach within the first year of his contract at Old Trafford. The United hierarchy continue to back Amorim and are refusing to panic despite the club's worst start to a league season in 33 years. Yeah, 92-93 was I think the last time we took 4 points from our opening 4 games. And what happened that year? We won the league. So there you go. It's written. I'm only joking. Please don't start trolling me. So 12 million quid. I mean, it's a lot of money, but is it that surprising? Goes on to say here, United appointed Amorim on November the 1st last year on a 2.5-year deal with 6.5 million a season, with the option of a 12-month extension after agreeing to pay Sporting Lisbon 9.2 million to buy him out of his contracts in Portugal. It's understood the 40-year-old would pocket 12 million if he is axed before his first anniversary in the job, which is less than 7 weeks' time. His coaching staff would also be in line for a payoff. So when you look at it, he's already had, well, he'll have had 6.5 mil, 9.2 million to Sporting to get him, and then potentially 12 million payout, plus whatever you've got to give him his staff, sorry. It's a lot of money in it. It is, and it is a lot of money. I know I just said it's not like unbelievable, but it's still a lot of money. I mean, let me know what you think. Get involved in the chat and the comments about that. How secure do you feel his job is? Because it seems to have divided the fan base, this. Whenever we sort of talk about Ruben Amorim's future, there's a lot of people that are saying, look, I can't put up with this anymore. I'm done with him. But I still feel like the majority of fans are saying, give him a bit more time. It's daft sacking him now. He needs to be given till the end of the season, or at least until Christmas. I'm just looking at the fixtures. You've got Chelsea at the weekend. Big game. Big game. If you lose that, you're in serious trouble. I think if he loses that, he might be done for. Brentford away. Tricky game, but winnable. Sunderland at home. Then on the 19th of October, Liverpool away. So those 4 games are huge. You think if you can beat Chelsea, get a point at Brentford, beat Sunderland, and then it doesn't matter what you do at Anfield, unless you get sort of annihilated, something ridiculous. But even then, you might still keep your job. I think if you go into the Liverpool game on the back of some decent results, you'll be okay. If you go into the Liverpool game and you've lost to Chelsea, say drawn with Brentford and drawn with Sunderland, and you get battered at Anfield, I think you're done for. Let me know. I don't want to be negative, but we have to be realistic. These are the stories that are doing the rounds. These are what everyone's talking about. And it's not, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that Ruben Amorim could be in serious, serious trouble. Hit that like button as well, please, people. You might not like what's going on at Manchester United, but you can like the video. I'll get into some comments. Ludo7 says, November the 2nd is my birthday. Lee Massey says, morning, Jay. Thanks for being so open about your history. Great to see your love for a little girl was bigger than your love for substances. Shows the measure of the man you are. Thank you. And just to be clear, that little girl was my daughter. Yeah, but I appreciate that. That's a podcast I did with Stephen Howson on the Stephen Howson podcast, his other channel, where I spoke about some of my trials and tribulations as an addict, as a recovering addict. And I appreciate all the positive feedback I've had. Get involved in the chat in the comments and let us know what you think about Ruben Amorim's future in terms of who could be taking over. So this article then goes on to say, after mentioning the run of fixtures that I've mentioned, if I can just find the list of candidates, there's a few in here. One of them is Iriola at Bournemouth. Another one is Oliver Glasner at Crystal Palace. I've also seen I've not also seen it, I'm reading it right now. Marco Silva is another one being suggested. And Unai Emery is another one as well. There's also, I saw somewhere, I don't know if it's this article or another one, I don't think it's this one, that Gareth Southgate is on that list. I hope not. Regardless of what happens with Ruben Amorim, I'm not too keen on Gareth Southgate, who's got almost zero Premier League experience other than getting Middlesbrough relegated, 15 years ago, whatever it was. I don't think he's the answer. I look at that list. Marco Silva did a good job at Fulham, didn't do a good job at Everton, didn't, for me, do that great a job at Watford, did okay at Hull. I know they got relegated, but he did give him a little bit of a bounce when he went in there. I don't think he's good enough for Manchester United. I don't. And maybe if someone like Silva was to come in till the end of the season, but is he going to leave Fulham just for a 6-month or 7-month job? I'm not so sure. Oliver Glasner, Crystal Palace, done very well, won the FA Cup, finished mid-table. Was it 12th last season? Has done well, has got them playing a certain way. Obviously did well when he came to Old Trafford. He likes three at the back. He's not going to put people off rather than encouraging people to say, oh, it could be a continuation of what we've got. I wouldn't be, wouldn't be that against that appointment. I think we might need to sort of be a little bit more pragmatic with who we appoint, and someone who has done a decent job in the Premier League and has got a tune out of underperforming team could be a good shout. Villa's Unai Emery is probably the most sort of experienced and most qualified. If you look at what he's done over his career, he's been around a little while and he's had a lot of success. And Iriola at Bournemouth has done very well at Bournemouth. It just shows you where you're at, though, doesn't it? If you look at that list of candidates, yes, they're good managers, but there's no wow factor there for me. And you may disagree, and by all means, let me know. But there's no Jose, who came in and was one of the most successful managers in recent history. Louis van Gaal was a manager who'd had so much success. There was, there was a pedigree there. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got the job basically off what he did as a caretaker manager. And as a caretaker manager, is phenomenal. And then when they give it him as a permanent manager, the back end of that first season, it was all went Pete Song, didn't it? But he got the job because of that caretaker stint and the fact he was a club legend as well. Erik ten Hag smashed it at Ajax, did very well there. That's why he came in. So the previous managers have had more going for them in terms of the reputation and what they've achieved than the current list of potential successors. That's all I'm going to say on that. Get involved in the chat and the comment. Let me know what you agree. I want Ruben Amorim to succeed, by the way. I'm covering these stories and I'm reading what's going on. I'm talking about these fixtures. I'm talking about the pressure. I'm talking about how, it could all go horribly wrong for this manager, yet another manager that's failed. I want him to succeed. I want him to win football matches. I don't dislike Ruben Amorim. I think there's a lot to like about him. He's charismatic. He's sort of comes across well in press conferences. He's obviously got this style that he's trying to enforce. I get all that. However, you've got to win games. I know it's daft, but it's true. Christos Christodoulou says, hi, Jay. Where do you stand with Amorim? I still back him, but only just. And that's not much backing, is it? But if we were to go into those games and come out the other side of him, having not won any of them, when I say those games, I'm talking about Sunderland, Brentford, and Chelsea, then I'm going to sort of hold my hands up and say I don't think this is going to work out. But as it stands right now, I think this manager, he's still got my backing. Not that he'll probably care, But as a fan, that's where I stand. Let me know what you think. I've mentioned this a million times. A lot of people, when you sort of, myself included, when you back Ruben Amorim, it's a lot of hypotheticals. It's what you think he can do, what you think he could do, rather than what he has done. Because what he has done as Manchester United manager has been poor. So I understand why people go, what are you seeing that I'm not? What I'm seeing is terrible football, or football that ain't good enough. We're not scoring enough goals. We're not winning enough games. 8 wins in 31 games. 17th out of the table of 17 teams that have been in the Premier League for the entirety that he's been here. How is that good enough? It ain't. I'm just not ready to cash in my chips just yet on Ruben Amorim. Let me know what you think. No, not many agree with me. Ice Cream D, this clown of a manager will be gone before Christmas. If he doesn't win those games, doesn't win any of those next 3 or 4 games, I think he'll be gone well before then. Sam Turner, 8 wins in 10 months, 1 win a month. It's a joke. Again, I understand that point of view. Matt Wick says, been prepared to weather a storm since the fixture list was announced. Sesko Lover, love that one. Everyone wants Amorim to succeed, but he won't, because he doesn't want to change his one-trick pony. I think these players will be fine with back 4 just to get us in top 8 at least, but he's stubborn. Where do you stand on that? Let's have a conversation here now. If Ruben Amorim for the Chelsea game had a back 4, if we went 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, and he went, look, we've tried the 3-4-2-1. It ain't working. Or he said, look, just for the players I've got, or just for this game, going up against Chelsea's midfield of Casado and whoever else it is they've got in now. I don't even know who they play in that midfield, to be honest with you. Enzo Fernandez. I'm going to put an extra man in midfield. I'm going to tweak it. Would you prefer that? Would you say, yeah, I like that. I like the fact he's... Or would you think, why didn't you do this for the Europa League final? Why didn't you do this at the Etihad? Why didn't you do it almost any game last season where we weren't good enough? Why is it taking you this long to do that? Let me know what you think, because I feel like he might be in a bit of a catch-22 situation, Ruben Amorim. What I would say to him, if he was to ask me, if he was to ring me up and go, Jay, what do you reckon? I would say, do whatever you think you need to do to win this game. And if that means going the Chelsea game, if that means going for it at the back, go for it at the back. Put that extra man in midfield. Forget long term. Right now, you need to win the next football game. That is the be all and end all. That's what I'd say anyway. You may disagree. Jimbo Sly says, if he got a result with the back 4 at the back, then brilliant. I'm at the stage where we need 3 points, no matter how we get him. Philippe Jardim says, imagine he goes like that and we lose the same with, and then tactics again, or players really. It's a good point. I think we have to be honest. There's 2 things can be true here. The tactics can be at fault for some things, and the players have to take responsibility. I was saying this on the radio the other day. Look, I'm not a huge fan of these tactics. I'm not a very, I'm not a tactical astute person. I sort of, I cede to those people who know a little bit more about tactics than I do, but they just don't seem to be getting the results that you need. However, I understand why he's sticking with him. I understand he's had success in the past. What you do want to see, though, regardless of tactics, is a little bit more effort from some of the players, because I don't think tactics are to blame when you've got goalkeepers flapping at things. I don't think tactics are to blame when players are making poor 5-yard passes. And we're seeing a bit of that. Tactics are to blame. Are the tactics to blame if people aren't doing basic things defensively? And I'm talking about proper basic defensive duties here. Just leaving men unmarked, things like that. Is that tactics, or is that just players not doing the job they should be doing? Let me know what you think. I'm curious, because I feel like, yes, there's going to be some of it tactics, some of it players. Where do you stand on it? How much of it is one way and how much of it is the other, if that makes sense? Because we keep hearing about these tactics, but I look at that Grimsby game, for example. Is that just tactics? We can't beat Grimsby. Maurice Marshall says the biggest issue is Bruno being played completely out of position. He is too offensive-minded to be set that deep. He was asked about that Amorim money at the weekend. Someone put it to him, why is Bruno Fernandes, I think it was Ducker asked him, why is Bruno Fernandes playing so deep? Or, is it time to sort of moving forward, or would he be better off there, or whatever? And Amorim sort of dug his heels in and said, look at the Arsenal game. We played against Odegaard, Declan Rice, and Zubimendi, and we did very well with the midfield we've got. What do you think? I think we should have 3 in midfield, and I think Kobby Mainoo should be one of them. Me and McCullough were talking about this on Uncensored. He only had a 32-minute cameo at the Etihad, and I thought he was United's best player. Dean Farquharson says, I don't understand the Bayern selection. That's the manager's call, and it was of no benefit as far as I could see. Joe James John says, He's had the great excuse to move Bruno up when Cunha was injured, so I'm not sure anymore. That is a very good point. Cunha being injured, you thought, right, well, there you go. Cunha out, Bruno in the 10 or in the, one of the 10s alongside Mbeumo with Sesko up front, and maybe you bring in Kobby Mainoo into midfield alongside Manu Ugarte for that game at the Etihad. Or maybe you bring in Casemiro, and I think people would have looked like, okay, I understand it, Casemiro, Ugarte, whatever. But he didn't. He stuck with what he knows, or what he believes, I should say, and he kept Bruno as a sort of deeper midfielder. And we're not getting the best out of Bruno Fernandes. That is obvious. I love Bruno Fernandes. I think he's a fantastic footballer. He hasn't been a fantastic footballer in that role. I think he's been okay. But at times he's not even been that. So it is a bit frustrating for me. I've said in the past that great players can adapt. Paul Scholes did it. He's a great player. Keno did it. Robson did it. Every player, when they're even asked to fulfill a different role or they get a little bit older, they can adapt the game. Every great player. Now, I'm not saying Bruno Fernandes is as good as some of those players, but he's still within that sort of bracket of being a top tier player, of being one of the best in his position or one of the best midfielders. He has been one of the best midfielders over the last 5 or 6 years in the Premier League, if not Europe. So why can't he adapt? Has he not got the ability to do that? I think he has, but he's struggling with it. And I think the problem the manager's got is he can't wait much longer for this. He can't wait much longer for Bruno Fernandes for it all to click, and it might not do. I might be wrong. So I don't know. I just feel that for this Chelsea game, pragmatism is the key. Matt Wick says you can criticize for a lack of adaptation, but don't get the motives twisted, in my opinion. Okay, fair enough. Alex Silva says, how will a player settle in a position if you're always moving him? If Bruno's going to play midfield, leave him there, or move him to the 10 and leave him there. Okay, fair enough. Do one or the other. It certainly seems like the manager for the time being is saying, look, this is his position. This is where Bruno Fernandes is going to play. He's going to play as a sort of deeper midfielder alongside either Casemiro or Ugarte or whoever. I ain't putting him back in the 10. Robert Harwood says, I feel sorry for Kobby. Has something gone on between him and Amorim? He was played as the 6th during pre-season. I just feel that Ruben Amorim's looking at it, and he looks at if you look at it game by game, opening game, he obviously felt Casemiro was better equipped to play in that role against Arsenal. Ditto, because I thought the performance against Arsenal was all right, so probably that's why I stuck with it against Fulham. Then against Burnley, I thought was the really sort of one where he started to take notice, because Grimsby, obviously, Kobby Mainoo comes in and plays the full game, but that's Grimsby. Then you look at the Burnley game, not only does Kobby Mainoo not start, we get an injury to Matheus Cunha, and he throws in Joshua Zirkzee, where you could have, if you wanted to, have moved Bruno further up and put Mainoo in the midfield. Then Mount gets injured, and then Kobby Mainoo gets brought in. So I don't think necessarily something's gone on with him and the manager. I think that's a bit of a stretch. And I think, he's still getting minutes, if not starts in the Premier League. He's had the last 2 games he's come on as sub, but it's not great. And also he's getting minutes at the moment in the Premier League whilst there's injuries. Mount and Cunha have both been out for the Burnley second half, which is why Mainoo got on, and for the game at the Etihad. And even then, he didn't start Mainoo. So it does feel like he's a bit down the pecking order. And I don't see how that changes with this system of 2 midfield. I think the only way that really changes is if you put 3 midfield and Mainoo becomes one of those 3. That's what I do. I love Kobby Mainoo. I'm not saying I'd just do it because of Kobby Mainoo. I think this team could play 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1. I think you could move Bruno into the 10 and get a bit more out of him. I don't know. Let me know what you think. It's just so deflating at the minute, isn't it? It's just arguing and hypotheticals, and everyone's just fed up. We just need a win, man. Diverse Sun says, if United lost against Chelsea fair and square, you will still support him, ? Ask me at full time. Ask me how I feel. Depends on the context. If we played like we did against Arsenal and we were robbed, there was a decision or whatever, you think, okay, that's not really on the manager, then you probably say, yeah, I get it, even though another loss would be difficult to take. However, we didn't turn up. We are almost in that position now, game by game. I hate when we get to this stage with a manager, but it does feel a little bit like that. Excuse me. It does feel. Antel says, Glasner plays a 2. The key is that both of them don't press at the same time. We do. It's not necessarily personnel. Sometimes it's tactics. That's what Rene was saying. Just because you've got a similar formation doesn't mean you've got the same tactics. Glasner has a similar formation, but his tactics are different. Alex says, who's doing match preview with Joe being away? Adam McCullough, you may have heard of him. I think we're going to do an early one. I think we're going to do it tomorrow. Tomorrow night, we're going to put the preview out Samaka's about. So it'll be me and McCullough on that. Good question, that. Brand New says, too emotional. Losing to City away isn't on the Ineos reasons to sack the manager list. I agree. However, any manager that gets sacked at Manchester United, there's a whole host of reasons he's got sacked. With Eric Ten Hag, you can name a list. One of them will be the signing of Antony. That was one little reason that ended up, undermining him. Another one will be the 7-0 at Anfield. Again, he don't get sacked for it, but it's another reason when people go, Jesus Christ, he lost 7-0 at Anfield. Does this guy know what he's doing? Then you get other games here and there. The Champions League campaign that was a bit of a disaster. Andre Onana. It just adds up, it adds up, it adds up. And I think the game the Etihad is one of those where you won't go, right, you lost to City, you sacked. However, if he does lose his job, that'll be one of the reasons where it's part of this 31 game run that's only seen in the Premier League 8 wins. I'm going to leave it there. Maurice Marshall says, is Joe still behind Asda? Yeah, that's why he's not here. He's been waiting behind Asda for some time, and we're trying to get him back. We're trying to get him back in the studio because we want him back in the studio because we miss him. But at the minute, he's behind Asda. Sorry, I'm just seeing what referencing the stories, but there's not much happening. Listen, back later on. We've got Paddock Live. I think for a minute. Is it Paddock? Back later. Not doing so already. You're hitting like, share, and subscribe. I'm Jay Motty. This has been the Paper Talk. Yeah, not so sunny Salford. Oh, actually, before I forget, I almost went then. I'm telling you, go and check out the merchandise. In fact, if you put a little cheeky link in the chat, I should have done that earlier. Forgive me, slacking. Yeah, all over the gaff this morning. What's up with me? There you go. There's a link in the chat to the Paddock merch store. We've got some merchandise there. Go and check it out. Modelled by me, Howson, Joe, and McCullough. Now, I really will leave it there. I'm Jay Motty. This has been a Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.